So, hi Vishnu, hi Nishta, for coming. Really appreciate it. I and Santoshi know both of you to some extent. So it's for the audience today to learn a lot from you, to understand what you have done and reflect a lot on their self, right? Yes.
Okay. Again, thank you again for being here. We'll start with Vishnu. So, Vishnu, what do you do currently and what is going on in life in general?
I mean, right now a lot of things are going on. So, right now I am working with Nishta's family business and setting up a renewable energy park. And I continue to run my agency, Bright Bridge at Tidal Park, where about 35 people are working. And trying to figure out where I would spend the next decade of my time in, and how do I optimize it, not just for value, but also for aligning my activity towards my moral ambition.
Understood. So Vishnu, what is your claim to fame? Like a lot of people know Vishnu, but what did Vishnu do to get there?
See, I don't know whether I am famous or anything of that sort, but what did I do? I did something that was pretty odd for my age and time when I dropped out of school after my 10th standard.
Okay.
The reason behind it is, again, looking at all my cousins and my sister going and studying until masters and PhD and spending almost up to 25 just in education to land at a job. So I was not that fascinated about education, all the physics, chemistry, math, biology, computer science that was being taught. And I was like, okay, I wanted to and tried to figure out a way and a shortcut to direct access of wealth. At the end of the day, it was all about making money. Why somebody is going to America? Why is somebody doing their master's or PhD?
Just to land at a job. Because you had very limited access to money when you were at 10th standard.
Not essentially. I was born and brought up in a middle class family. Dad worked for BSNL. And then I wouldn't say I was poor, probably middle class. But at the end of the day, I saw everybody around me traveling the same path, and I thought I would try attempting to travel the road less traveled by and see what is there at the end of the tunnel. And with God's grace, I'm here, reasonably okayish, doing fine and being happy.
What did you do after dropping out? So why did you drop in the first place? You had some aspiration to do something.
I already was doing things like freelancing, and I had a team of 8-10 people working for me. And then it became too tiring to do the +1, +2, where every day my mom and everyone would ask, like, you have to get into Anna University or PhD Tech. Those were the only two options. And then I didn't have adequate time to put in the effort towards either. I had an office, I had a team of 10 people, I had taken a few projects, we were making a few thousands of dollars in revenue.
What were you offering to your clients?
Doing digital marketing, 2009.
Back then?
Yes.
Okay.
Basic things like reputation management, search engine optimization, handling their website profiles. So those were the things we were doing, and running some Google ads.
Interesting.
So since we had access to low cost labor in India, and I was able to bid for a few projects and manage them.
Very interesting.
Somewhat of a thought leadership back in 2010 layla.
Just a means and way to escape from the standard course curriculum. And then it became very hectic. To answer your question, why I dropped out of school, I had to wake up at 5 o'clock. I joined GD school so that the school would end in the after the first half, and after lunch I can come back home and work. It became very hectic as I would travel to the school either in a bus or my dad would drop me. So I had to wake up at 5 and then pack up for my school. The school would start at 7 o'clock. And then I would come at 2 o'clock, I'd be tired by myself, still go to the office and work until 6 or 7, and then have dinner, and then again work until 10 or 11, because many of the clients I used to work with were in the US, UK. So didn't have any time to study or look into the books. So then I had a conversation with my mom and dad one fine day. I just wanted to give this at least a couple of years of time. Then chose to drop out of school and write the +2 privately.
Okay.
And then within then, dad gave me a few targets. These are the milestones you have to hit. Otherwise, you have to go back to the college.
Were there all financial milestones?
Both financial as well as the milestones that would indicate I would be self-sustainable in the long run, right? So it's not about just making money in one shot and being done with it. Whether I would be able to be as successful as what they wanted me to, right? Like, see, obviously, as a parent, they would want me to be successful in life, and if I do a degree, you are like making yourself fail proof. At least you would get a job, right? Like now without a degree, what can you do, right? You are on your own, right? You're risking your life ahead. After 2025 you cannot go back and join a college. So they didn't want me to face any hardships or fail in my life in the long run, and were very cautious. I would really appreciate and respect that. If not for them, I wouldn't have worked that hard over the coming 2 years after I dropped out of school.
So your dad was a central government employee.
Yes.
Assuming you were the first entrepreneur in your family
Yes.
or in your close relatives.
Yes.
Yeah. So why did you work hard so much? Like what drive you had to work hard? You
See-
saw your dad go from 9 to 5 or 10 to 6.
Yes.
He came back home. He had Saturday, Sunday off. He took you to all the good places in Coimbatore. Your relatives probably did the same. But you probably worked 16, 17 hours a day with my assumption. So why?
So there are two things to it. One, genuinely in those days between my age of 13 and 16, I didn't know I was working 16 hours a day. Looking back at it, I could say that I was working 16 hours a day. But people would be doing their own thing. Literally, my computer was in the living room. My mom, my dad, my grandma, my grandpa, my sister, everybody would be in the hall doing their own things, watching television. I wouldn't know what is going on. I wouldn't even know if guests are coming home and going out. So I would just be stuck to my computer. Those days, you know how slow computers would used to work. And then do my own thing, trying to figure things out. So it's not like it felt hard at that point in time. I enjoyed everything that I was doing. And two, always I was this kid where I wanted to be the outlier and not go in the same route that everybody are traveling by. And obviously I had a very comfortable life, but what I was looking at was not my mom, my uncle, my aunt or anybody like that. I was actually looking at my cousins, my sister, because that would be the path the next generation is traveling. And the path the next generation everybody were traveling was to get into a PhD tech or one of the top tier colleges, and then go abroad, do the masters, and then settle there working for one of the 5 or 10 large companies and corporations out there. So this is the path I would have otherwise traveled. In fact, my mom and dad prepared, even though they didn't have the wherewithal and means, they bought 2 plots in Charan Managar, so that they would sell one to educate my sister and one to educate myself, and then settle ourselves. That's it. That was their lifetime ambition. So to break free from all of that was obviously wealth and money, right? Like, and once you are financially successful, you would have that freedom to pursue whatever that you would want to. And I didn't resist or had any hardships or failures to start with. I took a very surest and safest means towards growing up in my ladder of getting towards financial freedom. And after I dropped out, things became a little serious. Until I dropped out, it was like, okay, I am doing this for the part time. Even if I make $500, I make $500. If I make 1,000, I make 1,000. But after I dropped out of school, then this is the only thing that I am doing, right? So then the next 1.5 years were those 15, 16-hour days. And after that, again, once you get comfortable, you have people to work for you, and you would tend to do so many different things. And my life over the last decade has been filled with, not just the last decade, last 15 years, right? It's been filled with like 20, 50, 100 different things I would have done, where probably 2 or 3 things would have worked out.
So work didn't feel like work to you. It was just play.
Yes. In fact, my mom, everybody who would visit my home, was like, பையனை கம்ப்யூட்டர்ல இவ்வளோ நேரம் விளையாட விடாதீங்க. So படிக்க மாட்டான். You have to send him to a nice college. அப்படிதான் சொல்லுவாங்க. Never bothered, or I didn't mind.
So whatever that you were doing, only when you started making money, people did approve of it, or even before that?
I used to keep on telling my mom I'll make money for 1.5 years, and nothing happened. So they just came to a point where ஏதோ விளையாண்டுருக்கட்டும், நல்லா படிச்சு ஸ்கூல்ல ரேங்க் வாங்கினா போதும். Eventually, when I was 13 in January 16th, 2008, right, a check came from a company in the US. Those days, check.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it came in my dad's name. We almost sent the check back because it wasn't for us. And then I told, no, it has come for me. And then this is something that I've done. It was something like $40 or $50. I still have a copy of the check at my house. And that's, I kept doing different things for 1.5 years. I thought nothing worked out. But finally, this has worked. And eventually, looking back at it, I would say my work was so bad that it didn't work. Nobody paid for it for the first 1.5 years. Then once I got the first income, I had the confidence and people believed, okay, something is possible. And then the next 2 years went into freelancing, doing reviews of different products and writing blog articles, etc.
Very interesting.
A lot of this, Vishnu, I think just one reflection that I have here is it's probably also the internet that helped you access all of these things, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Like,
So I think my time was when they would give 400 MB quota. Even though my dad, yes, per month, not per day. Okay. So, and the computer had something like a 256 MB RAM. Okay. And then prior to that, there was a dial-up connection. Dial-up connection was free because my dad worked for BSNL. But if you open yahoo.com, it will take 5 minutes. You can go brush your teeth and come back for the yahoo.com to be fully loaded, right? So that is how things were. Then the journey began with search engines. So I would search anything and everything until I find my answer. So yes, of course, access to the computer, having the privilege of having an internet connection. Even though half of the people in my class had it, I was one among the half, right? So
still an area of.
yes.
Yeah.
Nishta, so what do you do? Where do you come from? And also, we're assuming that it's a very contrasting childhood that you've had, both of you. So, would love to know more about.
You're absolutely right. First of all, I didn't have any adventures when I was 12, 13. I had normal school adventures. I went to school, I went to college, I even did my master's. So I had a very typical childhood. And I'm based out of Coimbatore itself, and I was born into a industrial family. And my father happens to be the first generation entrepreneur. So he's somebody who's seen, he's a typical rags to riches story. So he comes from a very poor background, and he didn't have the means to actually access a lot of resources, went to a very humble school, very humble college, lost his father at a very young age. It's a classic story, right? Rags to riches, classic background story. And so I think a lot of growth was happening at the time of my birth. So Appo, I've seen.
What did your dad perform?
Uh,
What did he
so,
start?
so he started a jewelry manufacturing company.
What is known as?
It's called Emerald Jewel Industry. So when he started off, he basically went for a job. So he also had an insight. Basically, he went for a normal mathematics course, and everybody in his house wanted him to become an engineer. But God had other plans. He did not get the engineering seat. Even despite trying, he did the 12th again, something like that. But he did not get the engineering seat, and he just happened to work for a jewelry company. And then he thought, I mean, for him, it was a burning desire, like a burning desire to make money, because he was in the lap of poverty. He was like, how can this happen? It's okay for me, but my next generation should not be like this. So he was so determined. So I think in a very different context, even he worked all-nighters, I would say 24 hours in some cases. And so all this happened 1984. So he started off in 1984. So 13, 14 years later, 1997, I was born. He's from Coimbatore. He's from Coimbatore. And our community happens to be in the jewelry business. We hail from a community that has a lot of jewelry businesses. So that's the industry that he knew very well. And he saw an opportunity. For him, it was doing something which nobody else attempted, where he could actually create a change. So then that time jewelry, even now, it happens to be very unorganized in several means. So he thought, okay, taking jewelry as an opportunity would be an area. So when I was born, I think it was a very intense time, Earlier, you just start off doing something, and then playfully you start off something, you see it, you see it yield results. And once it yield results, you're like, okay, fine, now I have to get into something serious. So I think at the time I was born, he was already having a factory. He was already having hundreds of people working with him. And we were moving into a bigger factory. So I think I've seen that transition from like a mid-sized business to the scale at which it is operating right now. So that's where, in that situation, I was born. My childhood was a very typical childhood. Because of course, my mom and dad were understandably busy, very busy building companies. And for me, it was never like, my household also was never like, okay, women can do this. Ipo, of course, like there's so much liberty, everybody can do everything, there's so much empowerment. But back in the days also, I think my dad believed in getting how much of a support was possible from the family. So my mom also was full time, she was working. So I was very busy with my own classes. Like I was genuinely jack of all trades: music class, Bharatanatyam class, dance class, yoga class. I was doing everything under the sky. And as a child, I think I was very curious, and I grew up in the factory. I think I still remember, like when I was a child, I used to run around the factory with barefoot. There used to be a general store inside the factory where you supply paper, pen, and all the things that the people need. There used to be Mahalactor, some Lacto King chocolate. So I used to go there to the general store. I used to get tracing paper, draw. I used to sleep inside the department, get the chocolate from there, play with the people from there. So I think a big influence in my life has been factory, growing up in factory. And I think it just like, I usually say this, எங்க அம்மா எனக்கு சாதத்தோட வந்து ஃபேக்டரியோட ஃபீலிங்கையும் சேர்த்து ஊட்டிட்டாங்க. So I usually say that my mom, fed me the feeling of being in factory, and it kind of like got soaked or absorbed into my blood. So that was my childhood.
Actually, just a little curious to know, when you were probably a kid, right? What did you think your dad was doing? Because you would have felt like, what was it that you thought your dad was doing? Like, did you have the clarity that it was a big business, or did you think that maybe he's just doing something and it's...
I mean, I would know in certain ways it is a big business, right? Like as a child, you of course don't understand money or financial aspects, you don't understand. But I think having a big house, and I think back then itself, my dad was, first house itself, he built with a swimming pool. It was very important for him. I think upper Coimbatore, nobody had a swimming pool in their house and all of that. So it was like the talk of the town for some time and all of that. So my friends, I didn't know. For me, I thought everybody would have a swimming pool at home initially. I didn't know. And then my friends would come home to swim and all of that. That's when I realized, oh, maybe we have money. So that's how it kind of like got absorbed into my head. But of course, going into the factory, seeing all of this happen, I knew that something big was going on, but definitely didn't understand what was behind it or the scale behind it. But I knew that something was happening for sure.
Were you spoiled with all the access to resources that you had, or were your parents were very strict in giving you limited resources?
So I think I was going to touch base on that, even though, like, because honestly, I didn't know for a very long time that we did have the money that we had. Not as a brag or anything, but honestly, I just did not know the value of it or the meaning of it. I think in many ways, looking back at it, I think that was a core value, because he was a first generation entrepreneur. Everything that was taught to me, even my mom came from a very humble background. So everything that was taught to me was very clear, like no excess of anything. Of course, they would give me everything. His dream itself was to provide everything for the next generation. So understandably, everything was coming to me and all of that. But not one day have I, ever been at a place, I don't know, I should call this a mix of God's grace. I should also thank my parents for giving me that very humble childhood. I don't think money was ever a big motivation for me, or I was never spoiled for choices, spoiled with, just because we had money, I never felt like, oh, buy me this, buy me. I was never that kind of a person. And I think it comes with a lot of parenting. And even though we were doing, well, my family was still pretty much middle class. But I mean, my family, my grandmother, my auntie, uncle, and everybody were very much, they were just doing their own thing. So I think I had a mix of both, and I had a very strong rooting in terms of groundedness. And that was core values. That I think for me, that goes a long way. I think that was fed to me also.
Maybe just taking a step back and on how this actually shaped your career. How did you go forward with life? What did you want to do when you were a kid, and what did you end up doing?
So I think nobody ever told me that, okay, this is what you're supposed to do when you grow up or anything. But I think being around in the factory for so long just gave me a lot of responsibility, that sense of responsibility. Nobody had to come and tell me that, oh, you know what, you should come and join the business. So nobody even expected anything from me. Of course, I was like, 5 years, 7 years at that point in time. But I think the first lesson for me was that growing in the factory setup, people come from all kinds of backgrounds. even, and I think even now I've been reading a book which talks about parenting, which talks about the fact that today's kids lack a village. They don't have an ecosystem. They don't have people to grow around with. A lot of lessons you don't have to teach anybody. I think they just absorb it from their surroundings. So that way, for me, seeing so many diverse people, I think really grounded me. Oh, there are people like this. Oh, there are people like this. And for me, that innocent mind did not know to distinguish, oh, this is this, this is that. So I used to grow up, I used to play with them. My friends were people working in the factory. I used to build houses with them. So I think it grounded me and shaped my personality a lot. And it also gave me a lot of purpose. Saying that even though I was like, what, 7 years, 8 years, they used to take me to stage for annual events, annual day and all of that. And I used to say, நான் பெரிய பொண்ணாயி நான் படிச்சுட்டு இங்க வந்து கண்டிப்பா அவங்க எல்லாத்தையும் பார்த்துப்பேன். So that used to be me. Even though I didn't know what I was saying, it was like a promise made when I was 7 years, 8 years, but I was very clear about what I was saying. I think this kind of shaped. I did not have any ambition. I think my brother at different points in time, he wanted to become a footballer and lots of other things. He was always in a boarding school, but I was always in the factory. So I did not even want to dream of anything else except this. This was the world that I knew, and I was sure I was going to study, come back and settle down here. So that was...
How did you do academically? Because something is expected out of you. Like you had set an ambition that I'm going to provide for these people. I'm going to make their lives better. Did you want to do academically better to do that?
Again, I don't know how this happened, but somehow academically also I was doing very well. I was into all kinds of sports. I was into all kinds of extracurricular activities. I think my mom put me into a lot of classes to keep me occupied. You know, when I used to come back home, I didn't have a lot of friends around home. And I was, of course, very, very pampered. And my parents were away. So they kept me busy by engaging me in multiple things. And I think I'm very curious also as a person. I'm very disciplined. I'm a very good girl in that sense. I would come back home, do my homework. The first thing I come back and do would be homework. And I think nobody had to tell me that. I just naturally was that. And I took everything seriously. I took my academics very, very seriously. Nobody would tell me, any first rank vangala or no. But
Because you would anyways be the first rank.
No, I mean, that's like, you know, even if you ask me, like, why were you forced? Nobody forced me. But I think it just came from that internal drive. You know, first rank it's just like a nice feeling. And then you just want that feeling to continue within you. So
That's kind of a social implied reality, no? Becoming wealthy, scoring the first rank, going to an IIT, getting an IAS exam passed, all of that is a social implied reality. Like, why would a kid want to do something? They're seeing around 20 people respecting and looking up at it. And then those people leading a kind of life that you may want to aspire ends you up there, right? Like,
for sure, yeah.
And what are you currently doing? What is going on?
So as per plan, I think this plan was there when I was 7 years old. I was just waiting to finish my undergrad, postgrad. So I finished my undergrad, and after I finished my undergrad, I came back to the business. My dad was very clear. I mean, even though a lot of people might say that, oh, Nakennappa, you have a business sorted, everything is sorted, you're going to come back, you're going to sit down in, you know, whatever place you are.
Just a minute. How do you respond to that? When someone says you're sorted for your life, your kids are sorted.
I also thought I was sorted only when somebody says, I would not very openly say that, but I'll be like, I mean, yeah, let's see what happens and all of that. But I think I was taking it too light, genuinely, because I think when your parents especially build a business, I think my dad openly, even now, he'll tell it in any forum. My kids are secondary. My wife is secondary. My business is first. My business is my first wife. My business is my first kid. Everything for him first is his business. So very understandably, and he's very attached to his business. And of course, right, you've spent so much time with it. Every brick, every stone, every sweat, every blood, you know, you've put into it. Like legit, you've put into it. So that attachment automatically comes, right? So
are you like that right now?
see, obviously, the level and the way that her dad has grown the business is altogether at a different tangent. So for me, there are very different reasons why I dropped out of school. And see, I wanted to pursue freedom and I wanted to be free. And because I wanted to be free, I started a business. So it is not something that I would call or I would attribute myself to be like, okay, I was so passionate about starting a freelance work or a digital marketing company, right? But now I am trying to gear up towards discovering my purpose and trying to align it with things that would be essential and necessary for the society. At the same time, are ambitious enough, large enough problems that I could devote my time in solving.
Understood.
So, and one major lesson in my life was, many people told me, right, like, you are not qualified to do all of this, right? So, even though I attempted few tens and hundreds of things and ended up succeeding in 10 or 20% of the things, in none of these things I had any experience whatsoever. So it's just your inquisitiveness and your eagerness to learn and adapt and continue to take each and every step in the journey, whether it's a success or failure, or and then continue to move forward, right? Without losing the balance, you will eventually end up at a place where you would have accumulated a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, a lot of friendships and connects and network, which would somehow help you in something that you might end up doing in the future.
Sure.
So if I look back at all the things where I have failed at, from a smaller scale to a larger scale, right? Like, or what the world in the worldly standard considered a failure, for me those things have taught me a lot of big lessons.
So if you erase your mistakes of your past, you lose your wisdom of your present.
Correct.
Sure. Kandipa.
That's a good one.
Yes.
So coming to Nishta's, what are you up to right now?
Yeah, so I joined the family business, I think 4 years back after my master's. Before that, I had to do like 1-2 years of orientation.
Where did you go for your master's?
I went to Spain, Barcelona.
Any specific reason?
No, I wanted to like go to for me again, nobody told me, but it was very important for me to go to a nice university, which is ranked well, just for the experience of it. And I chose Barcelona. There's a university called ESADE, which bets on diversity. So basically in my class, there were about 32 nationalities, only in 58 people. So, I mean, everyone is from a different country. So for me, it was, and I did not really enjoy particularly my undergraduation because I felt like whatever I learned in 11th and 12th, I repeated. And for me, it's very important to learn. If I don't learn, I don't feel satisfied. It's been 10 years since we started retail. So, and retail, we also started at a time when there was a lot of competition. So we're still trying to find our grounds in retail. But manufacturing was started at a time when there was no competition. Absolutely, it was like a complete blue ocean. Because back then there were only like asaris, as you know, and karigars who used to make jewelry and supply. So there was no trusted, organized, factory-based manufacturer. So even now they'll say, back then if you go take your old jewelry to your jeweler, they will say the purity is less, and they will say some mixture and all is there because there were no machines also back then. It was not that somebody wanted to cheat. But genuinely, there was no technology available in India to kind of ensure that all the processes happened in the ways it was supposed to happen. So back then, creating that organized setup, I think a lot of dealers, we actually work with negative working capital, which means that the dealers provide us the gold to do business and to manufacture. So we essentially started off doing business like that. We used to get the metal in advance, money in advance to do the business because we were the only one of this kind doing manufacturing in a factory kind of setup. So from there, we are here right now.
And what is your role currently within the organization? And also just one more add-on to that is you said there's the manufacturing, the retail bit, and assuming where do you play, which part of the business do you play a role in?
Sure. So when I started off, I think it was very blurry, like because me and my brother, we were in the business. We both had just come and we were just like trying to find our grounds. But my dad, of course, we all had different say of how we should go about our journey. So I think one fine day we just like took our roles. We said that the areas that were new and the areas were holistic, which needed that focus was export, silver and retail back then. So silver was a very new domain of manufacturing that we'd started back then, and we had exports, which was also pretty much new, and it was doing very humbly, and retail also was there. So amongst me and my brother, we just decided that I will take care of silver and export, and he will completely take over the retail side of things. And we told each other that, for us, it was very important that not one person gets very comfortable in one area, because in the end, it's a family business, and we ideally want to move to a place where we are all in the ownership, in the board, making crucial decisions, but not completely involved in operations. So to evolve to that level, I think we need to have a little bit of knowledge in every area. So just to start off, I started working in silver and export, and he works in retail right now, with the idea of swapping it at some point in time when we feel it's right.
Did your father influence these decisions, or it's a decision that you took
No,
within
for a
yourself.
very long time, we kept asking our father, where should we go? What should we do? I feel like I've just been put into an ocean. I don't know in which direction to swim. It was very confusing, honestly, back then because the company is too huge. Like, where are you going to start? What are you going to do itself is like a very big thing altogether. I think we just decided because getting into the mainstream gold business was going to be complicated. I mean, back then, because there were so many decision makers, we wouldn't really have that freedom to explore and take that responsibility. So, taking small areas and proving our metal, whilst also learning the entire, because silver operations was like a mini gold operations. Everything that was happening in gold was happening in silver, but at a mini level. So, I think my dad also felt it easy and comfortable to let us start with something small. So we started off with silver, and I think there were not so many people, so many decision makers, which put us on the spot. We had to learn a lot of things. We didn't know about a lot of things, but we had to just like learn and climb our way up. So I think we drove our path for ourselves, and we told dad, here's what we're going to do, be okay with it. And he was also okay with it because I think he also felt that it was the right way of going about it.
And how did you said that you'd gone abroad for your education, right? How did that help back home? When you came back, how did that shape your decisions?
So my perspective about education itself, I think I keep thinking, why did I learn all of this differentiation, integration, 11th and 12th standard? They torture you with that subject. I don't know how much I've cried learning that
I
differentiation.
think Vishnu raised it very early.
Was it too early? So yeah, of course, I've had my doubts because I hardly remember anything that I learned in my 11th and 12th grade. And even in my university, for that matter, I don't use regularly or actively all of these things. But I think education for me was a step beyond that. And I realized this after my master's because I don't think it was about, I think basic math, basic science is enough to navigate your life. But I think a lot of what we learn is really how it shapes you as a person, how it shapes your social skills. Because I feel like intelligence is one thing, knowing how to do is one thing, but getting it done is one more thing altogether, right? So you might have a great strategy on paper, you might know what to do, you might have all the calculations in the back of your head, but that can just be like a one day task, right? Putting your strategy and ideas together. But that has to be executed in the next 5 years. And that requires a lot of persistence, a lot of people handling, a lot of emotions handling. And I think that's a very important thing. Like, we cannot discount that at all. So for me, education was more about building my character. And I think leadership is a core aspect of, I think where I am at right now, I think leadership is very important. Resilience is very important. Even though it is your family business, of course, nobody is going to give you a very sweet and easy time. It's never going to be like that. It's a myth if it's like that. You have your own struggles. I'm sure everybody have faced it. And because in lots of places, you go ground up, right? Here, you're already made to sit on the top. You're only made to sit on the top. It's not necessary that people are going to respect you just because you're made to sit on the top. So I think it's very important to earn your respect because you're working with 500 people, 1,000 people who really have to respect what you're saying or believe in what you're saying. If they don't believe, you're just not gonna get your work implemented. As simple as that. So I feel like finding your grounds, earning that respect for yourself comes with a lot of self-confidence. It comes with a lot of putting yourself there, willing to take risk, willing to go the extra mile, and kind of like prove to them that I'm on your team. Your win is my win too. And I think that understanding, that emotional understanding, how do you really speak to somebody who basically, all these people that I worked with have carried me in their arms when I was a baby, right? So look at the transition from calling me Nishta Papa to just like not even calling me Nishta Madam. Okay, now calling me Nishta Madam, I think it goes a long way. Your mind doesn't accept it suddenly, right? So I think that was a very tricky part. And I think my education really helped me a lot.
I have a very curious question here. Let's say someone went to the best business school in the world with 10 years of corporate experience, a young lady. Instead of putting her into the business, let's say your dad decides to call her into the business for the same role that you are doing now, versus Nishta doing it right now. You grew up from the factory. You grew the same people that you're working with today, correct? So do you think you have much more empathy that's driving the business forward than the corporate employee who's very structured, who's trying to optimize on the revenue front, on the sales front? Between both of you people, who do you think will have a much hand in doing the business better?
So I think the place at which the business is in right now, I feel like it's a mix of both. I think you need it. We're not so professional that somebody from a corporate would readily come and fit into a company, because like I told you, this business has always been a very unorganized business and continues to be unorganized at many levels, because the kind of workers you're dealing with are still happen to be people who don't understand basic languages. They are still like very, they're from Bengal, some villages. That's the people who really have the skill, right? So you're dealing with those kind of people in one side. And I think in jewelry business, more than the brains, I think ethics matter, because every gram of gold is very important for us. So it's important that the person is smart, but it is even more important that the person is ethical, honest, and very strong character is very important. So given in this setup, we actually tried to bring in people like that, to be very honest, for the top management. But until now, we've seen that some people are able to fit in and some people are not able to fit in with the kind of people that are surrounding them. Because we can't, one fine day, you cannot professionalize the organization. There are people who've been in the company for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years now, and they have so much intelligence that somebody just coming today from a business school for sure cannot just replace it. So I feel like it's a mix of both. I think embracing it, and anybody coming from a business school, so if they have that patience to understand that this dynamics is a little different, grow with empathy. Because I always say, just because you come from a business school, know multiple frameworks, it's not going to be enough. It's never going to be enough. The frameworks can help you in decision making, but it's not going to help you run a business for sure.
It's more of a culture fit than a
Yeah.
intelligence fit,
Yeah,
right?
it's both right brain, left brain, hard skills, soft skills. You need it's always a balance. For life, for business, for work, for everything.
Very interesting.
It's like thinking versus doing, right? Doing it requires all of what you said,
Yes.
versus thinking could just be on a paper,
Yes.
a framework, etc. Another question that is specifically for you is that, as a woman trying to fit in and also like taking decisions, you mentioned that you were called a papa and then you also now are called a madam. So how did you navigate this entire environment as a woman, and your thought here?
I wouldn't say that, I was always like, I had my heads up and I was also brave and bold. No, I succumbed a lot of times. But I was okay. I was okay with it. I think every time I fell flat was a learning for me. I learned that nothing is ever gotten easy. And if something is gotten easy, either you don't understand the value of it or it is not going to be long term with you. So that was my very strong lesson. And I was okay with it. The first time you fall, the second time you fall, I think it's hard. But I think in my case, there was also my brother telling me that, Nishta, nothing comes easy. It was whatever you're going through now. 2 years back, I went through the same thing. So I went through all of this that you're going through. And of course, nobody's going to believe you. Sometimes people might just say, okay, but they're just going to like laugh at you. And that's going to happen at your face. You're going to know that people are going to laugh at you, and you're going to do certain things knowing that people are not going to take you seriously. I think that's all journeys, right? To be taken seriously, you'll have to first, I think, really first of all understand where you're at, where you want to get to, work towards that. And like I said, establishing the fact that you are working for them is very important. In my case, I took that as my mantra. I told them that your goal, your victory is my victory, and I am here working only for that. And at many levels, that was also true. For me, growing up in this kind of a family, from an industrial family, and being blessed with whatever I've been given, I don't think money was ever a motivator. For me, it was what really gave me that thrill of doing business, is that seeing that people around me, like, for their little wins, achieving a milestone together. And for me, sometimes it was very difficult to understand what was more fulfilling, the money behind it or just the happiness behind it, right? So I think that happiness and the success of people together, doing and being in it together, gave me so much thrill. So I think I was very honest to people about that. I would honestly admit also, honestly, you have so much more experience than me, which is impossible for me to, replicate in such a short time. So please be with me. I might add in some value from my experience, but again, you please add value from your experience. Together, we can form a winning team. So that was always my approach. I would never bring ego or anything into the table as much as possible. And I would make it very clear that I'm working for them and I have nothing to gain without them. I think knowing all of this gives you a lot of comfort. And I would still say that today, if I have to take any decision, like, my orientation really helps me. So I know what's happening, what exactly goes into that. So if somebody tells something, if you do not know, they can trick you very easily. So I feel like that strong foundation really sort of helped me a lot.
So, if I'm not wrong, You are like a 10,000 crore business today, employing 7,000 people directly and influencing 15,000 people indirectly. Will you ever do an IPO? Will any of us get to participate in that growth journey?
No, of course it's on the cards. It's been in the cards for a while, but we just want to figure out, what exactly we're going to do with the proceeds, how exactly we're going to deploy the capital. Because, like I told you, a lot of our business is already self-sufficient and it's doing great at the place that it already is. We have capacity to manufacture up to 5 to 7 tons. So we've built in huge capacities, huge everything. So a lot of capex, a lot of money related aspects is already sorted. So we're just figuring out our strong, big plan of, it's not just about raising money, it's also about giving that kind of returns. It's also about sustainably ensuring your growth curve. So we're still in the, process of just aligning a few things before we go into an IPO, but that's surely on the cards.
I was freelancing and doing a few projects in digital marketing, and then moved to the US. The first time I applied, I didn't get a visa. I was under 18, and then I applied one more time and moved to the US.
Why did you move to the US? To meet clients?
I was already done with what I could do in India and little bored. I already had a team of 30-40 people. I already did everything my dad and mom wanted me to, and I was like 18 and I wanted to know more.
Okay.
Here, like I was like the lion of the forest. I was the boss, even though I was young. I used to be very authoritative when I was 15, 16, 17 because everybody were elder than me and I had to exert that force in order to extract and get work done. Okay. Then I was not so empathetic, not so persuasive with my communication until I moved to the US, right? And then when I landed in the US, I became part of a leadership team in a company in Columbus, Ohio, and I worked very closely with the founder. And the other members eventually supported me in my role to evolve as a VP marketing and strategy. And then I moved to the Silicon Valley in San Francisco. I stayed with the founder and I was like, day in and day out, devising strategies on how to optimize revenue, maximize the profits of the business, and lay out a plan and undertake different projects. And there were multiple project managers working with me to execute them. I spent 3-4 years there.
Okay. So before you move to the US, you know exactly who are you meeting, where you want to stay. Everything is sorted out. Okay. So
I
you
was working with him for 3-4 months and then I moved to the US in 2013.
you moved to the US to work with your client.
Yes, I
Okay.
decided that would be a different experience for me rather than just running the company with 30-40 members. And then my whole team started working for that organization where I spent 3-4 years of the time. And then I started seeing competition coming from different aspects. And then we exited from that business where I was a very small part of. And as a part of that exit, I got a reasonable exit when I was 19.
Okay. When you mean exit, you sold the business to your
Yes,
client.
whatever part I had to get, the equity, we sold it off to the acquiring entity.
So you were the only founder of the company.
No, I was only founder of the Coimbatore Indian company. The bigger company was in the US. And I was the person behind positioning the business for an exit and driving the exit and transitioning that business to the acquiring entity.
One question that I want to ask you here is you're very young when you went through this whole process. You were 18 probably. And you were a VP when you were 18. How did you
Prepare
how
for
did you navigate the role? Because being a VP at 18 is definitely not normal and it's
See, it's just a lot of learnings and lot of reiterations, right? Like when I couldn't address to a larger crowd or the other senior leadership team members that were present, Fatih, who was the founder of the company, gifted me a book called Crucial Conversations. Okay. So I had to learn, I had to, in fact, understand aspects like neuro-linguistic programming about how do you put forth your message in such a way that it is received, right? Like the point is not to prove, the point is also not to win. The point is to get the message across and make it happen.
Very interesting.
So that applies to everything, right? In a relationship, in a business transaction, right? What is the point?
get ahead.
To get ahead and to get something done. It is neither to win nor to prove myself right, isn't it? So, in a lot of ways, you would have to alter and fine tune your communication to meet that. So, it is not about proving oneself right or to win over a conversation, but to move forward and get something done, getting everybody in alignment, right? Then I used to take part in multiple events, Florida, New York, San Francisco. So then in these events, I have learned how to communicate more effectively and get things done. At the same time, one of my core mantras and secrets of success in the few ventures where I have succeeded is core financial prudence. Right? Like that is also the reason I see 99% of the businesses failing. So wherever there is a very strong financial fundamental, that will win. So I have done many businesses in my life which were not so financially prudent. So and
How do you define financially prudent?
yes,
According to
I
Vishnu?
will get to financial prudence in a short while in 2 minutes. I was referring to businesses. 99% of the startups fail. In fact, only 1% of the startups raise any funding. Even after that, a lot of them fail. A majority of them fail, right? Or be able to produce any meaningful returns to the investors. So, the reason why businesses fail are so many. But true entrepreneurs who are sticking to their principles on the ground, they do not fail. If they are continuously doing something or the other, there may be 10 things that fail, but the 11th thing may work out, right? Like, what is a failure and what is a success? Clearly, the yardstick you use to measure the outcome of a business is the financial success. There is nothing else. If you are making X amount of profit out of your Y amount of time invested, that is successful. If that is not yielding the desired result, it's a failure. So, because the outcome is money, if anybody is failing with anything, either they are not meeting the client's expectations, right, or not delivering the results one desires. So, when I was 13, 14, 15, I wouldn't say I'm 13, 14, 15, right? There were times when I would start working for free and base my payout on the outcomes of the client, right? So, if you are generating $10,000, pay me $3,000. So, this kind of a relationship has made my inclination and effort directed towards result orientedness. So, today there are so many people working on a cost centric and a cost based model. What is a cost based model? It costs me $1,000, so I'll charge $1,300, right? Like, it doesn't matter what it costs you, it actually matters what I am able to get. If you are coming to me, you will help me make $10,000, which is non existent. I am comfortable paying you $5,000 also, right? So, this is one aspect of financial prudence, right? So, as a true entrepreneur, keep doing, continue to do and reiterate and perform. You will eventually be successful if you have figured the right chord and the striking the right strings, right? Like that's when you will get the music right, even in a guitar. So, the financial prudence is about delivering results to the customer. One. Two, financial prudence is about how you are getting and gearing up your fundamentals towards the business. So there are so many different kinds of businesses, right? Like when I say digital marketing, or when we even take an example of TCS or Infosys, these are all services businesses. So these services businesses are operating with the ingredient of manpower. You have X amount of manpower, you are doing Y amount of billing, and you are producing Z amount of profits after paying back all of the manpower, right? So this is how the cycle works. But there is also an altogether different tangent of businesses which you would find people like Adani or Ambani doing, right? Like these are all largely capex oriented businesses, right? So when you look at a large capex oriented business, even if you take Coimbatore for example, which is known for textile mills, right? Like very capex heavy, right? Like heavy land banks, huge machinery and buildings, right? In fact, this is what has saved these businesses today, right? Even though the businesses may be obsolete, there are so many textile mills that were operating which are all obsolete. But these same people and groups are running educational institutions, hospitals, giving livelihoods for tens of thousands of people today, right? So the businesses and the dynamics of business would keep changing every decade. Like 3 decades ago, Telegram was there. Right now, only Telegram app is there. There is no telegrams, right? So landline phones is completely gone. I don't know for how many more decades BSNL would exist, right? So the world will see a tectonic shift every 2-3 decades once, and a complete shift every 100 years. Before 100 years, we didn't have electricity. So we are transitioning from a world of a Ford to a Tesla, world of a Kodak to an iPhone, from a world where people used to ride horses to cars, to autonomous cars, right? So this shift will continue to happen, and people who are doing anything that is capex centric must watch out for three aspects. Is the underlying asset that you are employing to work on your business appreciating in nature? Right? So the underlying asset can be anything. It can be land, it can be building, it can be your raw material or your produce, right? So to give you a very close example, if you are employing gold as a raw material, right? Like it continues to appreciate no matter what. Versus if you are producing, let's say, paints, in 2-3 years it's obsolete. Or if you're producing chocolates, in 1 year it's gone. Or if you're producing even paneer or milk, in a week it is gone, right? So the nature of businesses that could support you to grow further is choosing businesses where your inherent investment or capex is appreciating in nature. Point number one, right? Like people who have worked with land and building, even if the business fails, they are financially still sound and strong, right? Secondly, uh, taking measured risks. What is a measured risk? You are borrowing capital at the cost of 8% and you are generating a 15% yield out of it. This is successful. If you're borrowing capital at a cost of 18-20% and then yielding 15% out of it, what are you doing? So there is a classic example of so many large businesses, right? Like Sahara India Parivar, Subiksha, Big Bazaar, Anil Dhirubhai Ambani Group, right? Paramount Airways, Kingfisher Airlines, right? Having made imprudent financial decisions that they have destroyed generational wealth. What I mean by generational wealth is, would anybody have imagined one child of Ambani would go bankrupt? Would anybody have imagined? Like Kingfisher, they had almost access to unlimited cash flow with the amount of money that they were making. But even you can put an end to that with financial imprudence. You can keep borrowing, but until what extent you keep borrowing, right? What is the cost of your borrowing? The cost of the borrowing made a huge deal in the case of a business like Sahara or Subiksha, where you commit to deliver 15, 18, 20% returns to your investors and end up making only 12, 13%. In a shiny day, you may make 25% and be successful. But in a rainy day, unfortunately not. So, the cost of capital is a very critical aspect. In fact, even in my own network, I have seen people accessing capital at 18%, 24%, and then people going very fancy and crazy with equity capital. And I'm already telling you, equity capital is the most expensive capital. Equity investors do expect 24 to 28% return on their capital, right? Debt capital is the lowest cost of capital. So you can choose two kinds of businesses. One, to do a services business where there is no capital employed. To do any other business where there is a certain amount of capital employed. If you are employing your capital in doing things like, for instance, taking this kind of spaces and furnishing it, it is completely obsolete after a year. Would anybody buy this table from me after a year for the same price that I paid? Or would anybody buy a car or the sofa or anything that is there, like a computer, in a year from now? Probably not even half the price. And then you have to add the opportunity cost of capital, which is 12 or 15%, right? So the financial prudence touches on all of these aspects: the amount of capital you employ, what is the yield you're getting, the cost of your capital, the return you are able to generate from that capital, and the time value for money, whether you are getting it, right? And then choosing businesses where your underlying asset is appreciating in nature would make you resilient towards any storms that you might face in the future.
So you're telling me, for an entrepreneur, the core trait should be understanding finance to a deeper level that you said?
Yes. The core trait, in my perspective and my view, that I have seen people succeeding is whoever has financial prudence, they'll be able to not figure out ways, stay there where they have reached. People who are not financially prudent may make $1 million or $1 billion, but they would end up losing it all. These people that I am referring to, I have great respect towards every one of them. They have attempted and done something so radical. If not for Big Bazaar, we wouldn't have modern trade in India today. Right? Kingfisher Airlines actually was very good. Every time I flew in it. Okay. And then Reliance Communications was a pioneer in launching the CDMA during those days. In fact, Mukesh Ambani was not into telecom. Okay. Like even if you take Aircel for example, right? So there are so many business examples that would come and that would go, that becomes obsolete, which often gets spoken about very little. Nobody even talks about it. But there is a bigger learning and a lesson to learn from all of these stories. Not just the startup failures, even the real world business failures. Like what happened to SR Group, right? So what happened to South India Viscose that was started in Karamadi, right? What happened to all the textile mills that are operating out of Coimbatore? Like at least which groups are surviving today and which groups have, vanished and are non-existent. So, what you would have to learn from all of these things, if I connect the dots and apply my learning, I clearly figure, even if you make 1 lakh crore, you can burn it all if you are financially imprudent. So, it is like a bird working so hard to get to the top of the tree. Okay. Staying there requires financial prudence. Because you would have so much access to capital. Every bank will be willing to lend you money. Everybody will be coming and willing to give you money. You take the example of Coffee Day.
Classical example is.
So imagine Coffee Day is such a vibrant place, the first of its kind in India. He has vertically integrated even making the furniture. I don't even know whether you people know it. From the water that is sold there to the coffee that is brewed, standout quality. But then what are the aspects that are not ticking the financial prudence box? All their investments are not appreciating in nature.
Yeah, the table itself, for example.
Table, chair, the food, everything has a time towards expiry, right? So the cost of operating an asset continues to increase if you're paying a rent or salary to employ X amount of people to work in each outlet, right? Every 6 to 9 years, you have to replace all of the interiors and refurnish it again, which again goes obsolete in another 5 to 7, 8 years. The purchasing power of people stays stagnant. You are already priced your product at a premium, where your leverage to go from 200 rupee coffee to 1,000 rupee coffee is very limited. But are you forecasting that your costs are going to be 5 times more in another 2 decades? No. It is. With inflation at 6 to 7%, your costs are going to be 5 to 10 times more in 2 decades. If you are not preparing yourself to embrace for a 10x cost increase in 20 years, from your rent, from your salary, from your electricity, from everything that you are doing, then you are not planning your business for success or remaining financially prudent. And what would people end up doing? I have to save this business at any cost. I borrow money. At what cost I borrow money? Starting at 8%, then 10%. Then I do not pay back this loan on time because any which ways my business is not financially performing well. Then I borrow at 15%. Then I borrow at 20%. So one has to be attached to business to the tune of being at an arm's length basis. If one is so attached to the business that they are lost, right? Like a Kingfisher Airlines, you are lost. You are borrowing recklessly. You are borrowing using your personal guarantees and your complete personal power. Anil Ambani, he chose the fanciest of the businesses. Mukesh Ambani chose the most grunt businesses like running a refining oil setup. He eventually later got into retail and Geo right now. But you are getting your fundamentals so strong before venturing into anything that is experimental. And you have the wherewithal to withstand the failure even if it occurs with your experimentations. Right? So, where your pressure to perform is very high. Even in a Reliance Jio, the pressure to perform is very high. Right? Whereas if you are an Adani, you are operating 10 airports and 10 ports and you are having, let's say, a 10 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity, your fundamentals are very strong. Even if there are inefficiencies across the spectrum, you will still survive. There are people who will travel in the airplanes, there will always be people who will transport their goods through the ports, and there will always be people who will consume electricity and energy. So these are the most basic ingredients, and if your business is centered around it, you are safeguarding yourself from the downside risks. You are not taking an experiment of starting 1,000 retail shops and putting that pressure of being profitable or else losing it all. Even many large businesses have experienced it. If you see Aditya Birla, who ventured into the More supermarket, which is non-existent today, right? So these fancy businesses always have a lure, but do not have the fundamentals sorted.
Very interesting. So you were 19, you went to the US. So
No, I was 13, I went to the US.
went to the US. You sold your business at 19. A lot of money was put in your bank account. From having very limited to money and having a lot of money instantly, how did it change you as a person? Like, did your priorities change? Did your lifestyle change? What happened in that front?
See, actually, probably let's say I had 1x, I suddenly had 10x. So that's what happened, right? And I always used to tell people, if I buy my own house, if I get here, I am sorted for life. This is my goal. Like Nishta would refer to, right? Did refer to. And then after getting there, I was like, okay, what next? Now my team members are no more working for me. I don't have an office space. And then I used to work until 1 or 2 a.m. And then I was clueless. And I went to Bali. That is when I was traveling as a nomad for a month and I did yoga. I went on my journey of self-reflection to understand what do I want to do. It's not that it has changed my life or anything like that. It has made me slightly more grounded and look beyond the aspect of okay, I've achieved this, that's it. No, there is something beyond. What is it that you can do? And then choosing to prioritize inner experience over outward success. And then really understanding that whole experience of between my age of 11, 12 to 19 has taught me the outward experiences are genuinely not in my hands fully. I can only put my effort. I can only perform my action, right? So I can continue to perform my action. When will you perform your action at your best?
When will I perform actually best?
When will you perform your action? When will all of your actions will be optimized to the best of your capabilities?
When there is no pressure on me.
When there is no fear of failure. Okay. When there is no pressure. Okay. When there is a saying, no, Vanda Mala Pona Onulla. That is how things were until 19. Okay. So no pressure to perform, no fear of failure, right? Like go on, right? But when you have reached a certain stage, safeguarding and protecting it becomes a very critical role and critical aspect. You can lose it all. And then you have to start over all over again, right? And knowing that you have to start all over again, you would probably not enjoy the journey as much as you did in the first place, right? So having so much money didn't change a lot of things. I realized the inner experience of how I feel from within myself, my mental state of being, my emotional state of being is largely within my hands and my fold. And what are all the things that I should do to master it? That is when I started doing yoga. In fact, for a short stint, 2 years, I taught yoga to a lot of people after COVID. And accepting, learning to accept whatever that happens to me and continue to perform the action to the best of my capabilities. And I was a person as an entrepreneur, the biggest learning I've had was I was too carried away and too self-obsessed with all of the ideas that I have had, right? What I mean by that is, and a lot of entrepreneurs I see in today's age and date are also having. When I think, come up with, strategize and plan a certain thing, I would really want it to work. Okay. Logically, the odds of it is working is very, very thin. But still, I would want it to work because I came up with it. The aspect of ego is attached to it. So when I see a lot of startup founders pitching to me, right, like I've invested in 15, 20 startups, all of the founders come with a very finite, clear, rigid belief that they will 100% make it. So the confidence is necessary, but prudence is lacking and missing. Right? Like, what are they hitting against? I cannot say I will hit against this wall and break the wall. Probably I'll end up breaking my head, not the wall, right? So, and that, what is that? Teeth grit confidence, right? Should not translate into a, right, like a completely baseless expectation.
Delusion of
Blind faith.
belief.
Blind faith or a baseless expectation, right? So one has to know what is happening. One has to study and research something so well. If you look at my own journey, I chose D2C. I started a D2C startup. I even raised funding.
Can you tell about that? How hard was it to raise funds?
See, for me, I accepted whatever the result was. I had to end up meeting 300 people to end up raising from 100 people.
This is after you exited the business. How long did it take?
This was after 5 years. I was doing a services business, doing this and that, and once again I wanted to build something massive and big. That is when I started to raise capital. In between, I had multiple failures, successes. I was just keeping myself afloat, right? Not losing out on the wealth that I have already accumulated. So that is I was stay put. But this experience taught me a lot of lessons. But looking back at it, I would clearly call myself, even though I had the bird's eye view, none of what I was doing was financially prudent in any way whatsoever. Okay. Still, I ended up raising a couple of $1 million, right? If I look at all the businesses who are operating in the D2C space, the competitive moat is almost non-existent. Anybody can do what I am doing. I can do what anybody is doing. Right? Like the competitive edge is absolutely missing. The barrier to entry is also non-existent. Right? Like, and it is also so fancy. Like so many people want to take a movie, start a D2C fashion brand, start a D2C skincare brand.
Where did you start in D2C?
See, I started selling a hair serum, right? So, and then obviously I got deluded by the initial numbers of 8x and 6x ROIs that I got. Eventually, when competition came in, that ROAS, came down to 3, and then eventually 1.5, and then 0.5 right now.
What led you to the hair serum space? Like, why hair
I
serum?
think we were doing so many random different things, and then it was one among it which worked. And then I pitched it with a few people. They gave me $500,000. They happened to be my friends. And then eventually did 5-6 products that would enhance and improve the health of people, to address issues of sleep, to address issues of old age, to address issues of nutrition, etc., supplements, etc. But then what happened was I failed to recognize and pay adequate attention to the areas where there were absolutely no barrier to entry, where whoever has the maximum amount of money would burn me out, down. And even those people who have burnt me out, today I am seeing the largest of the D2C brands that were functioning 3-4 years ago, today are all going bankrupt one by one. The largest aggregator of D2C brands, Thrasio, declared bankruptcy. Right? Like in India, I don't want to name, there happen to be 4-5 large, almost $1 billion house of brands. Okay. You don't even see, hear, smell about any of them right now. I don't even know whether they exist. So out of so many e-commerce businesses that were started, to date, Amazon and Flipkart are existing and quick commerce is thriving. Every other e-commerce business that existed, you don't even hear about them anymore, right? So a lot of capital gets deployed, employed, and burned in all of these experiments. So as an entrepreneur, it's very important, and my lesson learned was not to get carried away by all of this frenzy that would stay around for 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. So you have to plan and do something that would be resilient and stay for a few decades to come.
Understood. So let's say if a 20 to 25-year-old is watching this today, would you advise them otherwise to start from a D2C brand?
See, I would advise them, A, don't start something because you want to raise capital. B, raising capital is not success. Unless you want to be unethical and loot the money and run away like many founders do. Okay. So,
Is that happening?
yes, of course that is happening. You can go to Google and search the number of founders in India who have raised even to the tens of millions of dollars and who have siphoned it off like any politician or person
Realistic, yeah.
involved in any business, any random thing, right? Like any bureaucracy, right? So if you are ethical and if you want to be honest, fundraising is not a frenzy or a achievement, nor counting that the amount of money you raise is free money. They are actually expecting 30% return from you, and you owe them. Okay. Even right now, people tell IPO money means free money. You have to deliver them 25% return every year. Otherwise, your stock will crash to zero. Right. So, if you're raising venture capital money, you have to deliver them 35% return every year. Otherwise, you're screwed, right? Otherwise, nobody is going to fund you for the rest of the life. As I said, unless your idea is to loot that money and run away, right? So, the third thing is just because 10 other people are doing it, look into their fundamentals. The 10 other people may be burning money. Out of that, one or two may succeed. That also is may for a short period of time. If they are all going to be getting bust in another 5-10 years, there is no fancy in raising 10, 20, 50, $100 million and burning all of the investor capital and then eventually becoming a so-called celebrity, even coming in televisions, judging other startups who are still young and small, right? There is no fancy in doing that. What is it that we are able to create that is tangible? What is it that we are able to create that which is prudent in nature, that which will survive, that which will deliver the returns that are desired by the investors and people in the ecosystem, and even those who have already done it, who are already in the journey of doing this, right? Like try to gear your business, turn inward and look into the fundamentals and see where you would be able to deliver. And if you deliver, that is what you would be remembered for.
There's a lot of things that you spoke about and a lot of knowledge. I would call it wisdom also. How did you actually come to a point of juncture, like even realizing that financial prudence is key to succeeding, right? What led you to realize that financial prudence is key?
Three things. One, distancing myself from the super cluster. After that, I had a health event in my life. I had to return all the investor capital. And looking at everything that I have done from a distance, looking back at it, I can say probably I was very egoistic and then slightly egoistic. and then right now, sitting in a position where I can call myself, okay, this is what you are, Vishnu. You failed to see this, you failed to see this, you failed to see that. Right? Like how many of us self-introspect as an entrepreneur?
Very good.
Very less. And then we are carried away. You are not looking at the shoe, you are inside the shoe. You are not looking outside and seeing, okay, there is a hole in that shoe, don't go, there are thorns there. No. Now that is that Vishnu who is sitting here. Now the other Vishnu was inside the shoe. I will go. Right? So that is the difference between being in the arena and then seeing from outside. Seeing from outside, the reason why I'm sharing all of these to fellow entrepreneurs or anybody is self-introspection is key. The first thing I wanted to share. To self-assess and understand where you stand and assess whether what you're doing is prudent in nature, will be long-standing, is worth your time and effort, is result yielding for all of the stakeholders involved. The second thing. So the second thing is to understand the market dynamics and the competition to its depth. The way people are understanding the market dynamics and the competition, or the way even I understood is, that person raised $20 million, $10 million, $50 million. Raising money is not success. Correct? That itself is a very wrong comparison to start with. So I want to do it. No. Understanding the business to the depth of it, to the dynamics of it. What is their COGS? What is their cost to sell? What is their repeat order ratio? What is their most fundamental metric, like the cash flow of the business is generating? What is the capital that it has employed? Understanding this actual business dynamics is more important than looking at an Economic Times newspaper, the first page, okay, Myntra raised $100 million, got acquired by this person for $500 million. So that is not the information you would have to know. You have to know the actual business dynamics in the most fundamental aspects. This is the second thing. And the third thing, as a part of the self-introspection, you have to be your devil's advocate, right? Like, how can your business fail? You have to write down 20 things. And how are you going to make it fail-proof? And fourth thing, don't get too attached to the business. Too much of attachment is very, very, very risky. Too much of attachment has led the largest of the businesses run by the largest of the conglomerates, all of the examples that I have referred to earlier in this podcast, towards a failure. Too much of an attachment, in my own experience, has led so many capable, young, dynamic startup founders towards a failure. They were too attached to their uh, idea or startup or a business that they were doing without looking deeper or looking from a bird's eye view from outside.
So when do you think we should put a stop loss to whatever that we are attempting to do? Is there a point in time that, okay, this is not
Anytime,
anytime? Okay.
based on whatever metrics that you are defining for yourself, whether you are getting there or not, right? So entrepreneurs typically have this thing. I have to do it myself, right? I do not want to work under somebody. So the easiest and the safest bet an entrepreneur can make is to be a part of a founding or an early stage startup that is very promising in nature, that is doing the next big thing, whether it is AI, whether it is automation, whether it's energy, right? So being there and doing it, evolving with the founding team, even for a matter of 2-3 years, would expose oneself to so many different perspectives and network than what one would be able to achieve independently over a 10-year time frame,
Makes sense.
right? So the most successful entrepreneurs today have been like a founding team of PayPal, founding team of Flipkart in India. So that's a great starting point for a lot of people. That's all. That also means you are giving up on a little bit of your ego and being a part of something that is greater, not being the forerunner, but being a part.
Maybe great insights, Vishnu, and respect to what you've done. And this is also coming from me personally in a lot of ways because I'm a 23-year-old something trying to figure out life as is. As a woman, navigating a career itself is often you think through a lot of things, right? And one of the things that at least I've thought about is how do you balance your business life or your career, and then how do you bring in the aspect of relationships and your personal life? How do you navigate it?
Okay. So I feel like I think we touched based on this topic a little bit earlier also. I think there's no perfect like இப்படித்தான் பண்ணணும். This is not a templatized answer at all. I think your own life experiences, your own situation or the position you're put in life will also guide a lot of things. So what I want to say is what I'm going to be saying, it might not be true or a recipe, ready-made recipe for everybody. Everybody's life situation, priorities, kind of marital, their married life, their preferences, their personal growth objectives, purpose will all take a seat, will all take a aspect here. But I think my personal learning, like I think I've evolved over time. What I put in the forefront or what I thought was like the only thing that you look at in terms of work or career, it itself was challenged 2 years later. So it was the same person thinking about a different thing. 2 years back, it was only career, it was only career ambition. And then 2 years later, if I can give a overall, a grounded view about it, a balanced view about it, I feel like these things evolve over time. But I think one inspiration or one grounding principle that I have learned is the middle path. I think in the middle path, who do you remember? Do you guys know who preaches or who follows the middle path?
That I'm aware of. Yeah.
It's Buddha.
Okay.
So Buddha, I think he's somebody that I go to because he's somebody who's lived a very rich, wealthy life. He came, he says he was not getting the fulfillment that he was going to get by leading that life anymore, and he left his life. And then he went on to leading a life of deprivation. So he deprived himself of like food, water, and he suffered himself thinking that only suffering will get him to fulfillment. So, and then after trying both of this, he said, guys, don't do all of this. Just do the middle path. Don't get overly attached to something and don't deprive yourself of something also. So I think the middle path is something that always grounds me. So I wouldn't say working is wrong. I wouldn't say taking care of the family is wrong or right. Nothing is wrong or right. The middle path, again, what is important for you in your life? Just ask this question. If I were to look at my life when I'm 60 years old, 70 years old, if I were to look back, would I have led a satisfied life? Some decisions might have been right, some decisions might have been wrong. Like Vishnu says, you might have failed in 95% of your initiatives. Those were all learnings, those were all stepping stones. But what really mattered is the networks that you've made in your life, the good relationships, the good deeds, the very small but profound family moments, the first, words of your child or your son or your daughter. So I feel like in the race that is there, competition does not start when you're, in the job or anything. It starts from when you're entering into the school world. So in a world full of competition, and of course, even though I can say that, okay, there are so many measures to success in a life, it's not just money. There are so many metrics beyond money. And I think only that grounding is very important. What is success to you? Okay, it can in the short term look like, yes, hitting certain financial goals is very important, but is that financial number always going to give you that satisfaction that life gives you? You have one chance at life. It's like a big game, it's a big canvas called life. You can paint whatever. So what is that painting you're going to cherish when you look back? I've painted this well. So that should be the final take, is what I am saying. So I feel like there's a middle ground. I think as a woman, it's very important to understand this middle ground. A lot has to be done from the side of the government, from the side of the companies. Yesterday, actually, when we had a discussion about, career breaks, pregnancy, and all of this, we just had a candid conversation. And I was saying that there's changes that has to happen on all sides. First, in the mindset of the woman, saying that, yes, this is my priority. When I lose this age, it'll be hard for me to get that precious moments back. We have classic cases of so many women today, we don't even have to mention. They lose their prime pivotal age when they were meant to have fun, when they were meant to have a beautiful domestic life, when they were meant to get pregnant. And then 40 years, when they hit 35, 40, they whine, they crib, they're like, oh, I miss that companionship, I miss that motherhood. It hits them later, and that regret is very painful. No amount of money can ever compensate for that regret, and we're already seeing how this is already showing in our birth rates. It's showing in our replacement rates. We're all performing so bad in that indicator. So I feel like with all of this, we're heading for a crisis. So it's important that women first acknowledge that it's more like a world's plan, right? It's more like a divine plan, I would say. We didn't create anything that is here. We were just born into this. So if women is given a job of a creator, can a man ever do that? No man can ever do that. Even if AI comes, even if robot comes, I don't think a man can ever reproduce. So I just feel like certain tasks are given to you by God. Certain things, duties are given to you by, it's God sent. So I feel like at that different times in life, it's very important to embrace these different things. But I completely empathize with women, fearing the job break, fearing that career break, not being taken seriously after you have a child, having different priorities after you have a child.
It's more like a systemic change that has to come in and sort of evolve into it. Maybe needs time, but yeah.
For sure. I think because we're already seeing these trends, right? In the US, for example, your maternity leaves, you also have paternity leaves. A lot of companies give paternity leaves. Understanding that this is a hard phase, this is a difficult phase, your body is going through so much, you will need support. I think these are all coming in. So I think it's not that it is impossible, it's just minds thinking together, it's just genuine efforts, empathy, it's just empathy. Just if you understand what a woman's going through, what a child needs. The children of today are the future of tomorrow, genuinely. If there's nobody, then what are we all working for? We're not going to live forever.
Can you think all the capitalists in the country can come together and solve this problem?
See, I feel like capitalism is sometimes limiting and blinding and short-sighted in many ways. I mean, see, you just named it. You said it's capitalistic, so it might be difficult to really look at it. But I feel like for the holistic growth of any country, even a capitalist, he can't work after 100. I mean, there is only 50 years, 60 years you can work. After that, you need the next generation you work. You need people to come in.
If somebody is a real capitalist looking beyond the next century, even looking at the numbers, the capitalists today are acknowledging that the world is dying.
Exactly.
So if they look at it from a short-term perspective, maybe not, but from a long-term perspective, whoever you are, you have to look at the numbers and make logical sense.
Like if you're a pragmatic capitalist, really capitalist.
Unless you are so attached to that very narrow idea of capitalism.
Yeah, and I think it also goes, even like you take a company, for example. I mean, there are so many things. There's only some things that you can actually pay for, right? You can pay to get work done, but you can't pay for sincerity. You can't pay for honesty. You can't pay for going that extra mile. We all have seen cases where when you're passionate about work,
Like let's say someone like Santoshi who's in the early 20s, what should a 20 to 28 year old girl or a woman watching this can do one thing, just one thing to stay in the middle path?
I think it's first of all very important to understand what you really want from your life. I think it's a very important question to ask yourself. Because I think we all hit that point where we ask ourselves, hey, what am I really working for? You know, what is this all about? I think it's very important to ground yourself there. But everything cannot happen around that grounding. So you might want to go towards a certain, for example, in Santoshi's case, she wants to start up and she wants to probably create an impact or whatever her goal is doing that startup. But it might not be the most, you should not rush towards it, is what I'm saying. In between, there might be so many things professionally that she'll have to take, like Vishnu already said, gaining that experience. Because there is this very common, very overtold example of the cutter who has to cut a tree, right? So it's not about, so there are 4 cutters, everybody start first, immediately they start cutting. They are given 5 days, and there's only this one particular cutter who sharpens his axe until the 4th day. Only on the 5th day he starts cutting, and he does the most. So I feel like that example is very profound in this case. So I feel like her grounding should be towards what she wants to achieve, and from there I think if you work backward, what skills do I need for that? Okay, and again also anticipating the worst cases of failure and then working for it right now. How do I, right now she's in a safe space, she's paid, she's earning that money, so she can take that risk. Whatever learning is time right now. So I think building that skills is important. Not, and also looking at her personal life, understanding and planning for that. I'm not saying, okay, get married immediately or have a child immediately. Not at all. But plan for it. See at what point in time you will be able to take that back seat. You will be able to prioritize this and also give justice to this. It should not happen at a time when she's just gotten into the business or she started up something. It cannot happen that way. So it's very important to have an open conversation with her parents and align them so that they don't put undue pressure on her when she wants to do something creative. So I feel like thinking through all of this, having an open conversation, being open about it, mind mapping goes a long way. Setting short-term measurable goals along the, having few roadmaps to your destination, I think is a very important thing. And I think for that middle path, it's important to understand that we have one life. And if you just look at, we might not have the experience of being a 60-year-old yet, right? But we can only learn from other people's experience. And when you look at a lot of successful people, when they turn back in life, they still reminisce on these small moments that made up life. They don't talk about, oh my God, I hit the biggest top line, I hit the biggest profit. Nobody ever says that was my biggest up in my life. They would say the first touch of my child. They would say the first time my wife, gifted me something, or I gifted something to my mother, or my mother passing away happily. Things like that, or just traveling and seeing world, meeting people, just random acts of kindness, right? This is what will come from people. So that is what is something that we learn from our experience. What looks important to you today might not be the things that's important to you 5 years from now even. So from that perspective, take the wisdom of others, see where you want to go, and then mind map, and then have a holistic view rather than just saying that I will work recklessly now 16 hours, I'll burn out, I'll do whatever. Then you're surely heading in for a burnout. That's not going to be sustainable.
Should probably listen to her, like taking a step back and trying to see what you want out of life. Santosh, I don't know if you know this. I once wrote, if you are smart enough, you have to get rich and fall in love only once.
Oh,
I wrote
probably
this.
tweeted this.
Yeah, I tweeted this. And Vishnu replied to it saying, it's done.
Oh, yeah.
It's done. I found it very interesting because it was like a badass moment. So I felt he got rich only once and he stayed there, and he fell in love only once, he stayed there. So I think most of the people who are watching this don't know this. You are a couple. You guys loved each other, and that turned into a marriage. So how did you guys meet? That's a very interesting thing that all of us should know. Where do you meet?
This question, any question?
You can take
Go for it, Vishnu.
So we met in a train journey of a 15-day long train journey called as Jagriti Yatra.
movie.
Should be filmy, no?
Okay.
Story should be interesting, no?
Something good, please.
We both signed up for this journey called as a Jagriti Yatra.
Okay.
which is a 15-day train journey.
Okay.
They would take us to all the different places to, instill social entrepreneurship.
Who can participate?
Everybody can participate. We both were there as a part of Jagriti Yatra. I didn't know anybody came from Coimbatore.
Mm-hmm.
So the interesting part was when I met Nishta in Kanyakumari Junction.
When was this? Which year?
This 2017, December 26th or 7th.
Okay.
The exact
Right.
date
Okay.
also.
Not bad, not
Oh.
bad.
So that is when I met Nishta and also her friend Bhargavi. Both of them came on the train journey together.
Mm-hmm.
So the journey took us through different places. That's where I got to know about Nishta to start with. Okay, who is she? What does she do? And I knew that Emerald as a company existed.
Okay.
Right, like there's some large industry based out of Coimbatore. Right, like that was the idea. And then I really lacked the connect of people of my age. So when I was doing business until I was 23, it was all about talking to people who are 35, 40, 45, 50. So I didn't go to college. I didn't have any friends. All my friends were school friends. And then didn't have much time to spare or spend with them either. So I want to take a journey, first of all, to understand India. Secondly, to build some friendships, right? So I've traveled across the world, but not in India.
Okay.
So I wanted to go around India and make friends. So Jagriti Yatra was a perfect trip designed towards that. Then I met Nishta. Then we were friends for 6-7 months. Then
Who spoke to whom first? You went and spoke to her.
I messaged her in Facebook and we both
No,
spoke
so
to
we
each
actually
other.
met each other on the platform, and it was actually my friend Bhargavi who he mentioned. So she basically went and she's like a buzz person. So you leave her in a room, she'll go speak to everybody. I think both of us were like that. Both of us are like that. But I was somewhere away just grabbing food or something. So she was literally, we couldn't find even one Tamil speaking person because I was stuck in Christ University where everybody would speak English and Hindi. I was craving for that,
Tamil.
Just listening.
Okay. Where did you board from?
We boarded from Mumbai.
Mumbai.
Both of us. We all had to board from Mumbai, and the first stop where we actually got out of the train was Kanyakumari. Straight from Mumbai, 2 days we came to Kanyakumari. So in Kanyakumari, so she basically goes and she sees this Tamil payan with a Tamil face, and he's like Coimbatore, and for her she's like, oh my God, Coimbatore, and then she's like, Macha, Coimbatore. And then I'm like, what? Coimbatore? Like, I was really, dearth of this Tamil company. I think you really miss it when you are away from Tamil Nadu. So I was like, wow, that too Coimbatore. Coimbatore is a city. Back then I thought Coimbatore is really not, having the game. It was Chennai and nothing else. So I was like, oh, Coimbatore, that's impressive. And then I went and I met Vishnu. Next day itself, I got a hi from Vishnu on Facebook.
Okay.
That wave, I got that wave. Just got a hi from Vishnu. And then that was one more hi. Then it became a good morning.
Okay.
Then it became good morning. And then we were in the same train. We ended up seeing each other so many times.
How did the conversation between you both were you both very boring, had boring conversations?
Like, I honestly didn't speak any of what I'm speaking right now.
No, I think at that time, first 1 month was me being like a mentor or a certain kind of an influence. You, isn't it? Isn't it?
See, I think, our conversations, typically, I think it didn't go too much towards any kind of an economic or, nothing deep, nothing heavy. It was just about reflecting about whatever we were seeing around. But I think I had to step up my game little bit. நான் ஒரு BBA classல என்னெல்லாம் பேசிட்டு இருந்தேன் அப்படிங்கறத தாண்டி I had to step up a little bit. I think that Jagriti Yatra already was, making us think and ask the deeper questions. So அதை பத்தி we were reflecting a lot, obviously.
Incidentally, it was so strange. Jayanagar metro station was next to her house.
Okay.
Okay, Sandalso factory metro station was next to the place where I was living in, right? Like, we both would make a lot of effort to meet each other at least every alternate day.
Okay.
She would come to play badminton or swim at the apartment community where I was in. I would go to Jayanagar to walk in Lal Bagh.
Okay.
Okay. So, and every morning we would wake up at 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then before 7:30, we would be done with our meeting and get started with our everyday, right? This is how things were until May, June, right?
Yeah.
2018.
I think, I just want to say, one step back, at that point in time, we're both from Coimbatore because I was very clear I wanted a husband. I wanted to marry. Yeah, I want to marry in Coimbatore because I've always wanted to settle back in father's business, right? So it makes more sense to settle down in Coimbatore. So I wanted somebody from Coimbatore. At that point in time, I was in Bangalore.
Okay.
He was also in Bangalore.
What were you doing in Bangalore?
I was only doing the e-pharmacy stuff.
That e-pharmacy startup. Why did the e-pharmacy startup happen? Now we know. Maybe one of the reasons. Right?
Interesting when you spoke to him.
I didn't understand head or tail of what he was doing. I was like,
You only didn't understand back then.
yeah, honestly, even I think we were all trying to figure out. So I think it was really on play of destiny only, or to be very honest. And then we meeting in Kanyakumari, no, I think no relationship between Bangalore, Coimbatore, nothing in Jagrati Yatra in a train journey.
When did you know that it was love? எவ்வளவு மாசம் கழிச்சு, like how many months it took?
I think 4 to 6 months.
4 to 6 months.
6 months you guys figured out it was love. Who confessed first?
I asked out first.
Okay.
Chivalrous.
Chivalrous. Yeah,
She
he
is
was.
not in Santoshi.
But then we were already there, very close.
That's what he says, but
So you guys woke. I'm so surprised that you woke up at like 5:30, and that's such a crazy amount of discipline there. Like, yeah.
yeah, I think we did make a lot of efforts, which indicated that we were getting close. I didn't know how to name that relationship at that point in time, but I needed more of it. I knew that I liked spending time with him. I was 100% myself. I felt like I had to pretend so much my way through college, just to like fit in. At some times, at least, it was very draining on me. I'm not usually a person like that, so
Because both of us are largely disciplined,
yeah.
right? Like when it comes to the food we eat, the people we interface with, where we spend our time on, our sleep cycles, our health and wellness. Across these aspects, a lot of alignment.
A lot of alignment, and none of that was existing back then in my life, but I wanted all of that back into my life. So finding somebody like this, I was like, I would just run to him. Like every time my college got over, I'll be like, enough of drama, that's all. Now just be yourself. Take a deep breathe in, and I'll run to him just to play, just to be myself. I felt like I was really able to just be myself. I think that really helped me. And also for me, it was almost like, என்ன மாதிரி யாருமே இந்த உலகத்துல இல்லையா? Can I find somebody like me, or am I just too boring or too old school? But I think I always needed a balance of.
You thought Vishnu was like you, or he was a complete opposite?
No, I thought we were ditto,
Okay.
and I still think so. I think both of us are like, in certain ways, we might come across as very.
We are genuinely ditto, born in different families with different circumstances and life
all.
that took us.
So, of
Right.
course, learnings might be different, but I feel like character, personality, foundation, values,
Yes.
ditto.
How long did it take for you to reply back?
How the usual drama. The drama was like, oh, நான் இதை எதிர்பார்க்கவே இல்லை. I didn't expect
No,
it
but
at all.
I obviously knew it. In fact, in 10 days from then, I wanted to take it a little slow. And for it to be a very, very concrete thing, because hers is a very big family. So it shouldn't be like, okay, in a Lala world telling yes, and then tomorrow changing the word and all of that, right? So I wanted it to brew for another 10, 15, 20 days. And then eventually we were friends, and then in a year from then, our families knew. My family knew from day one. And then,
You know, he said about the founder friend giving him a book called Crucial Conversations. I don't know where he used it, but he used it with me very clearly. And I was so innocent back then. I was like, oh, I was, I mean, it's a good thing that I fell for all of the traps. But, so he did this very beautiful thing. He patiently answered a lot of questions that I asked him. And I think that there I saw that commitment. It's not running away, or it's not the empty promises. I felt that, okay, this guy wants something serious. He's looking at something long term. And then what he would do is he answered all these questions very cutely. He wrote one 9-page letter, not wrote, typed one 9-page letter. Of course, we had computer when we were 15, so we have to type it out.
but
We
that
can't
was
write
not
and-
ChatGPT, real type.
This is real. Now he tells, oh, I wish ChatGPT was there back then. But okay, he put some efforts. No, that 9 pages, I was like, okay, this guy's putting some efforts at least to answer my question. And this guy smartly, 9 pages written, beautiful, romantic, sentimental, emotional, I'll be there for you kind of letter. I finished reading it. I got damn emotional and crying. He didn't even give me 5 minutes to process that emotion. He was like, oh, I have a train to Coimbatore. I have to leave. I'm like, what kind of a creature is this?
Vishnu became.
Oppa. And then I think that actually did a lot of good than bad, because I felt like it was just that emotional upheaval, and it just stood there. So I feel like it gave us time to process, not be very, reactive to the scenario. And I think we were able to think through. And
See, in any heightened state of emotional being, you shouldn't make any decisions.
yeah.
So, whether you are angry or sad or so happy or so frustrated, and if you take any decision, that would probably not be long standing. You have to
Yeah.
let it brew for some more time.
No, I could have possibly said yes there, but that yes might have been very emotional than logical or than
See, literally, I could have taken a train the next day also.
So Vishnu as a founder found her.
whatever.
No, genuinely, I have done businesses and all of that, but I have never been in any relationship. I had friends, but I didn't have any time to be in a relationship, right? Like I was traveling around the world, coming from America to India, India to Singapore and China, and then back to America on a monthly basis, right? Didn't have any time. So whatever that is happening, I wanted it to happen a little slowly. And after that, we were in a relationship for almost 4-5 years.
Yeah.
Like we
Before
didn't
we
get
got
married.
I asked Vishnu one day, Vishnu, how did you convert your love into a marriage setup? He told me, love is not a landing page to convert. He told me this.
How did you come up with this?
She was very nice.
ஏதோ ஃபேஸ்புக்ல ஆட் நடத்தி அதுல வந்து லீட் போட்டு அது
100% conversion rate. Take expert advice from Vishnu.
100% conversion rate, no. First attempt success da.
I can't boast of that. It's okay.
So right target audience, only one audience you reach the ad.
Right ad copy,
Right ad copy.
communication.
Converted.
So the 9-page thing itself is like a very founder first mentality.
All this I
Nothing
had
like that.
to
It was nothing but she just texted so many things in WhatsApp. I was like, if I reply, it will become a conversation. It will never end. So let me put all of that in a Google Drive and then type answers to all of it and then add a tinge of our personal relationship towards it and share it with her. That's it. And kindness.
I think there was a lot of structure, a lot of strategy, and a lot of thinking through, a lot of crucial conversations involved in our relationship. I think for me, that was very new, to be very honest. I was like, Canada, the my letter I'm getting, very pleasantly surprised. But I felt like, I think this movie called Dragon talks about it very beautifully. This recent Tamil movie called Dragon. Whoever you end up loving in college, you will not marry that person for sure. You might not have the best life.
Everyone in this room will approve this.
And that college
We've all been there, done that. So I feel like it has so much thought to it. It's not to say that anybody is good or bad or right or wrong. Absolutely not. But I feel like life is so much more than butterflies in the stomach or just the
இப்போ கூட சொல்லுவாங்க நான் வந்து மேரேஜ் மெட்டீரியல்
I'll always tell him. I'll always tell him. I could have had paneer tikka, I could have had pani puri, but nee danda idli dosa. That's because you can't keep eating pani puri every day.
I'll take that advice from you.
Yes. Find your idli dosa.
What did your father had to say?
It was very,
You had a lot to say.
He had a lot to say. I mean, I took some time to actually go and tell this. I was not, for him, I think he has built his reputation in the house. He's done something, stood up for it, proved himself, everything is done. For me, I'm just out of college. I'm just a kid in my parents' view. Of course, they're going to look at me as a kid. They still look at me as a kid very much. So I feel like, I didn't have, for him, it was easy to share that decision, stick by it. It doesn't have to worry about anything. I genuinely expected one dramatic reaction, Tamil parent reaction. I was like, I thought they were going to tell me, you can please leave the house. I was like, so I was expecting a horrible reaction. But when I went and told them, they were like, oh, relationship. Okay, no problem. You can break up with him tomorrow.
How did you get the courage to go and tell your father?
He was troubling me every day. He was like,
No, I stopped talking to her. I decided February 14th, 2019, if you are not telling your family, I'm not talking to you from today. I really stopped talking to her.
Okay. For how long?
For 10 days.
That's all. After 10 days, I tortured him from everything, from every medium that I had, that he had to start talking to me again. But
then she also told her family.
Yeah, I mean, see, it was long pending. I had to do it. I had to have the courage, gather some courage to go do it. I knew I was going to do it, but I just didn't know how. I did it in the worst way possible, but that's that's for later.
Why did you want her to talk to her family? You could
See, I didn't want any cinematic, dramatic endings and all to the whole thing. I wanted both of us to be with our
Sunk
families.
cost fallacy. 5 years I put into this relationship.
So it doesn't matter, you know, you're gonna live with somebody for the rest of the life. So why fight with someone? Why estrange the relationships people are having with others? Just get along, understand, and then
He
let
would
it
speak
go.
about the world in such an idealistic way. Get along, understand. I'll be like, when I see my father itself, just get along, understand.
No, I have never had any problems. Whatever questions, how much ever times we had to meet, he's a very, very logical, rational, and one of the most honest and reliable persons I've ever conversed with.
So honestly, my dad was like, initially he was being very emotional about it. He said, "Oh no, 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 what is this? No relationships and all of that." Then I think over the time, I was also persistent. I was telling that, see, I have not told you any of this. In fact, I've dated multiple people before. I've been in relationship. It's not my first relationship, but I've never felt about marriage about with anybody. It just happened. It didn't even go there to think about marriage or whatsoever. I was a kid back then, but right now I know my priorities. I know where I want to land. I know what I'm going to do in my life. And for all of this, I challenged them. I said, no non-veg, spiritual inclination, does not drink, does not smoke in Coimbatore. Somebody who can shadow or be there for the business, somebody who's smart, somebody who's ethical, find me.
Somebody who can.
This was the question that I told. This is the
who can also
the
write a
challenge.
9-page letter.
Open challenge. Who can also
You played all the cards, right?
I played all my cards. I was like, they were like, what a daughter I have. I was like, but yeah, I think I was very courageous. I stood my ground, saying, listen, I've thought through. It's not that I'm making an emotional decision. I've thought through. I know I want this. I know this is going to be a very big of a big support to me and for us together.
How old were you when you spoke this?
23, 22, 23.
See, even after that, what was the end result? They said wait for 3-4 more years. I said, okay, fine, we'll wait for 3.
Yeah, so I think I was very strong and I was very clear about what I wanted, stood my grounds. And I think we were both willing to be very patient about it. But I told them, please don't have an emotional, cinematic response to all of this. I know we come from a different economic status, they come from a different economic background, but does that even matter? Does that even matter right now? How is it going to matter? Okay, I'm very self-reliant. I know I can, I know I have my skills, I know I can make my money. Of course, first of all, in a marriage, everything, it comes together. You can't, your money, my money, and all a stupid way of looking at it. So anyway, I'm very self-reliant. What more do I need? Like, how is that going to make any difference? Let's not be emotional about it. Let's think practically about it. So I think once I started putting these questions, I told them, you meet him, give me one reason as to why you say no. I will not ask you a question back. I will accept it. This was my, offer that I gave them. They said, okay, ask him to
Bring
come.
him, okay.
Be courageous.
It is like,
Ask him to
Yeah.
come.
then the ball was on my court.
Okay.
So I have to communicate and express myself in such a way that there is absolutely no reason whatsoever to give up.
And by now, you know how Vishnu communicates.
Crucial communications has done a lot of
Social conversations.
Yeah.
So first with me, now with my father, and of course he is a very good communicator. And of course, I think for the age that he was, not a lot of people have had any experience. It's like you said, 1 in a million, right? Not everybody gets that experience. But I think he was able to tackle a lot of things which my dad would have not expected to hear. But that also did not happen in one conversation. I think 10 to 15 meetings. It took.
You met him in person.
Yeah, he met him in person. There was a lot of hard work. That itself gave me confidence. Then in the conversation, if he's spending with my father, okay. Yeah, so I think from there, I think we also got our relationship also got strengthened. My father earlier he had many things. What if, what if, what if? But he said, you know what? You guys can carry on in a relationship. Do what you have to. Please stay away from Coimbatore. I have some reputation to maintain here. That is the only thing. He said, don't worry, I'm in full approval of this relationship, but wait for some time. We'll just figure out, you finish your master's. I was going for my master's then. That you finish your master's, come back, and then we'll settle this. But I approve. So
you were also in a long distance relationship for a while then.
yeah.
That was 6 months after that COVID came.
And I came back.
Any which ways, again, it was a long distance being COVID. Everybody, whether in their own houses, there was lockdown. But I went to Spain to see her, and we both went to America
Okay.
Oh, okay.
to see my sister and my people.
And what does marriage mean to you? Like, now that you're married, what does it mean to both of you?
See, genuinely, in my perspective, so many people will say more responsibility, accountability, this and that, and the. See, in my perspective and in my experience, getting to spend the whole of the time with Nishta than just a little bit of the time means you evolve day by day, and at the same time, you enjoy that companionship. And you are in that immersion, right? Like, so I have somebody to look up to take me up, lift me up when I fall down, and also to whom I can share my experiences with, which means it's collectively more joy, more peace, more happiness, and more freedom. That is how one has to see it.
Yeah, very, very fair. And
You being you and you being you, coming to a common ground and deciding to stay together for the rest of our life, despite all the vulnerabilities that we have, is what I call love. Is what I define as love.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, I mean, it takes, of course, every relationship takes effort for that matter. And I think I said this particular line, it's Tamil line from in my engagement as to, what I thought marriage is or any relationship for that matter is. There's this line from there's a song called Uyir Nokam. It's by Sounds of Isha. So they say, உறவு முறையெல்லாம் உருவானது எதனாலே? That's the question. சேர்ந்தே உயிரென்னும் பூ மலரரும் அதனாலே. So that was the answer. Like, because for me, for a very long time, I was like, what is the purpose that we're all together? You get attached, you have expectations, and it leads to disappointment. More often, when you're with the closest people, you fight the most. You have the most amount of expectations, the most amount of disappointment, right? So it's a very tricky relationship with the people you're closest with. It can be a big win or it can be a big break.
Can you explain our audience what that Tamil phrase means?
Yeah, I'm just going to explain to that. So, what that Tamil phrase means is the question that is asked is why are relationships formed or why are relationships existing in the first place? So, it simply says the relationships that you are in are meant to blossom the life which is there within you. What it basically means, what translates to is that you have to become a better person by the day, and you can't do it alone. You need a set of people around you who are going to have the strongest influence on you in your growth journey. They say you're an average of 5 people around you, and it's so true, right? If you're going to surround yourself with certain kind of people, that's what you're going to learn and that's who you're going to become, for sure. So, surrounding yourself with people who have the same temperament, who will take you closer to your goals, and not just for yourself. I think it's beyond. When I met Vishnu, this was the first thing. Even before getting into a relationship, this is what I said. I told him, somebody with an alignment, discipline, and a foresight like you and me could be a power couple. And I really meant what I said. Not to be a power couple to, show ourselves to be something big. Not for that, but to really create something meaningful for the world. And I think I said it now and I feel it now. I said it then. I said it, I don't know why I said it, but I said it. But I feel it so strongly now. When two people who can actually, because in a relationship, what can all be a break? Even small things. I don't like the dress you're wearing, or I want you to do this, I want you to do that. Our energy goes in firefighting all of these stupid issues, which is not going to add any value to that person.
Correct.
yeah,
It's just about picking fights. It's just about satisfying each other's superficial needs. So a lot of time goes into that. When you actually find a person or a marriage with alignment, a marriage of purpose is what I would call. What true love, according to me, is actually getting past both of your needs and seeing how you can come as a camaraderie, a team together to actually work for yourself and for the world around you. So I think that has to happen. And for that, the respect and alignment, and like you said, against all odds, I'm going to be there for you is so very important.
so beautifully put.
So
and-
wholesome.
yeah, so beautifully put. I don't have words.
A lot of unprepared, wonderful
You should never prepare
delivery
for
of,
this conversation.
delivery of message, right? Like the way you spoke, it's been a long time since I have myself heard, right? Like very interesting. With that, Tarun, what are the next things we are going to look at in the next meet or the podcast?
We have something very interesting for you guys to ask. So, like today, me or Santosh or anyone in this room are chasing after something. It could be money, it could be something that's not related to money. So, chasing after something has always kept us on a running loop, right? So, why are we doing this? What is ahead of us? Okay, let's say we achieved the milestone one, the pit stop one. Should we relax or should we look back or should we plan for the next pit stop? So, why are we constantly being in a loop? So what is the core of all this?
That's a very, very deep question. We would probably look at it in the next podcast as we delve deep into the philosophical aspect of it. So the movement and the action from the birth till the death exists, right? Like the content exists, but with what context? How you move, right? Like you said, relax. You can move in a very relaxing way. You can move in a very joyful way. You mean relax, not just to just lie down in a couch and watch Netflix, right? Like if you are settled, if your peace of mind is maintained, if you are mentally happy and joyful as you navigate through different phases of your life, you're pretty sorted, right? Like as I said, we look at it in depth in probably the next podcast.
Yeah, I think we can close here.
Yes.
Thank you, Nishta. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Santoshi and
Having
Arun.
us.
Just give us snippet on what are the set of things we will look into in the next.
Sure. You want to run it through?
Yes, okay.
Mm.
I think a few of the things that we can discuss, and we already also lined on this, is uh, views on productivity versus purpose in life, and also decline in birth rates, the way the world's thinking about having children,
Marriage and
and social stigma around unpaid work. That's also another topic that could be discussed. And what is freedom, and how does freedom lead to
That by itself is its own podcast. Okay.
and views on retirement, financial planning, and
That's
also
a
financial
that's a
prudence.
deeper
Yeah.
one which is very necessary for India.
so the few things that we have for you, we also have few things related to business in terms of how worthy is branding, a face value of a founder. So that's another interesting that we want to touch upon in the coming episode as well.
And then maybe some core values around how people, like, also how should people think, right? Like, original thinking is something that might be very essential, like Vishnu also mentioned earlier, like when we were talking, aside from the podcast, what is going to shape the world, um, moral abundance, or moral ambition, sorry, yeah, things like that, I think.
That's I think probably going to lead to multiple more podcasts in the days to come. But it was good. Thank you so much.
Thanks a
for
lot for
Thank you for
coming.
having
Really
us.
appreciate it.
And thank you
Yes.
everyone
Sure.
for being here.
Thank you guys. Thank you.